like having tea in a teeny tiny little tea set with my daughter when she was little because it was so fun to drink tea out of a teeny tiny tea set. But it's the conversation that evolved around that. And to this day, she's 26 years old. She still remembers that. And like, if you never take that time, you will never experience that with others. And it does stem from a love and appreciation of food. Now, chocolate cake. Let's talk about the chocolate cake. Because everybody's like, we can't invite Lana over because she's only going to eat organic food. Well, no, that's not the case. I do love my treats, and I think that's one of the fallacies that, I mean, I know that there's so many people that are hang-tied and handcuffed with their bodily restraints and their health that can't enjoy some aspects of food that I've been able to enjoy over the years. And so I don't want to discredit that. But I really believe in blessing your food. I really believe in looking at your food, and even when you can't prepare it, or even when, you are in the state where you have to accept food from, you can't impact it yourself. There are ways that you can bless your food, so it is a blessing to your body.
Welcome to Winning the Divine Lottery. I'm your host, Amy Dawes.
Hi, Lana.
Hi, Amy.
It's so great to have you. I'm so excited that you're here. And I have to say, I know we talked about it before I hit record, but you're my first podcast interview in a vehicle. Well, I'm not in the vehicle, but it would be super cool if I was. And I just think that's fun. We find ways to make this work, right?
Yeah, yeah. We'll just call it things in motion, right? Even
Okay,
though I'm
that
not in
might be the
motion. I'm
title.
not in motion. Yeah,
Things
yeah,
in
that's awesome.
motion. That might be inspiration for the title of this podcast. Who knows?
To be
Um,
honest, I parked right beside one of my favorite parks that I spend time in, like prayer in the morning. So I was like, where am I gonna go to like just feel this all? And so I'm at the park. I'm right beside the park.
I
Unfortunately,
love
there's snow and I can't get out into the park because I might get a little chilly today, but I'm there. I'm there.
I love it. I love it. And I love you. And I love our divine and magical interactions we seem to always have when I come into Body Fuel Organics, which you are the founder of. And
Hmm.
I see you in there when I'm shopping. And we just always have these like, I love calling them like divine meet cutes, and we just have these inspiring conversations. Sometimes, where we're brought to tears. There's just like so much joy and magic and love. And I know you have a love for food. I know you have a little bit of a story with regards to that. So I actually would love to just open this space up to inviting you into your heart and sharing what's here for you right now. And let's like just magically let it unfold from there.
Awesome. I'm reminded of one of the interactions that we've had, and I know we've had many, but um, about just like love and how love fits into food, because there's so much there. And um, it- food can be like, a lot of people don't love food. I mean, they might love aspects of food, or they might love parts of, preparing food or not preparing food, or, they might love fast food, but I don't know if you can fully dive into, like, I love food, and I love good food, and I love nourishing food. And I love when people share, um, not even if they don't share the same like feelings that I have around it, but they'll just listen to what inspires me to love food so darn much. Like, it's so much fun. Food is so diverse, like, especially when it's embraced in some sort of aspect of um, not just being a sterile experience, like, you go to a regular grocery store, the clerk checks out your food, doesn't look at you, tells you your total, you tap your card, you leave. That to me feels so empty. It just feels so empty. And I just think um, food can be so much. Like, when you start to like realize that food started from a seed, and that seed had energy, And that energy of that seed like sprung forth from the earth and grew into something that would nourish you. And then you think about like where food goes. Like, do people actually think about, you know, that broccoli plant? I love broccoli. But like it springs forth from the earth with energy from a seed. Like that little seed brings forth like fruit of nutrition. And then you have a beautiful farmer who loves on his crop and like has an innate worth that he places upon his crop, and he harvests it with care. Especially, I'll speak from the organic world because I believe and I know in my heart this happens because I can feel the power of food when it comes from the right source. And so, you know, that plant is cared for in a holistic manner. You know, the beautiful sun shines upon it, the nourishing rain sprinkles upon it, and that farmer who loves his food and values his food harvests that food and then places it in someone's care to transport that food, who cares enough to transport the food to a grocery store that cares enough to place that food on the shelf and love on it as it's given to the customer. And that's how I see food. Like I just don't have a in the past like unpacking boxes of food and see it as sterile. I see it as life. And I see the progression from the ground, from a seed up. And so that's a piece of fresh food. But let's talk about like producers then. You know, you have local producers or producers that start with an idea. So it's something that's not even tactile. It's not even physical yet, but they come with an idea. And I'll just give you an example of how this, you know, I think of something in my world. Like my mom has a potato salad dressing recipe that's been passed down from I don't know how many generations. It actually, we finally made it into a recipe because my kids were like, how does grandma make such good potato salad? And I'm like, well, she's got this recipe. And when I saw the recipe that she had handwritten from her mom in her like, you know, tattered and torn recipe book, and that recipe makes the potato salad that I now make and my children now make unique. And it came from an idea. Like it was an idea. It wasn't even something tactile. And it then, like, people say, Lana, can you bring your potato salad? And now they say to my daughter, Hannah, can you bring your mom's potato salad? Well, it's not my mom's potato salad. It's her mom's potato salad. It's not even my mom's potato salad. I don't think it's even my grandma's potato salad anymore. It's somebody's idea that passed down generations, and then people enjoy it. And I just think that that's all there. Like it's all there in that piece of whatever that you so lovingly prepared for someone else. And when you start to look at food with dimensions like that, they're blessings. And that's why I'm like, don't go eat at a fast food joint. My goodness, you're just like absolving yourselves from any kind of experience. There's none of this. Like there's none of the appreciation that goes into food when you cheat yourself of the experience. So like love your food, love your ideas, love your creations because they came from somewhere. Like they might have even come from an idea. And that idea then springs forth with all the senses that can, you know, appreciate them, from your tactile sense, from your looking at food. You know, people talk about loving food and how they look at food and love food. And I mean, I love the word food porn because it just appeals to the senses. Like you got to know you love that. And then you can taste it, and then, you know, think about it. Think about how it's all came to be. And there's so many aspects of food that we forget about because we're in such a rush state of the world. We're running and we're, you know, plowing down food. We're not even thinking about our food anymore because we're in such a busy world. And I think we're actually taught to like become sterile to our food. And when you really become alive to it, I just think there's so much there. There's so many beautiful things that you can find about food and think about food and just, you know, the progression of food. And It's just so fun. It's so fun.
Well, Lana, I've enjoyed this interaction immensely. I've won the divine lottery. I think we can just end it right here. I think you are probably, if I could actually like compare episodes and guests that I've had, um, possibly the first person that has spoken that long in the beginning without me interrupting, because I was just so captivated by everything that you were saying. Because I love food, and not a but, and you have just added another layer or 100 layers and other dimensions for me to just sink my beingness into around food. And I've had similar thoughts, but never in that way. Like the way you spoke, I was just receiving it fully. And I can actually feel your love and your light when you're speaking. And all as an entrepreneur, I'm just thinking, oh my gosh, this lady needs her own podcast. She needs to write a book. She needs to start one-on-one sessions or group sessions with how to fall in love with your food. Maybe that's going to be the title of this podcast. You just said so, man, it wasn't even what you said. It was that everything that you said was packed with love and authenticity and truth for you. And it's just so beautiful. And your love that you have for going right back to the seed and the energy is the same love I have for inspired ideas that inspire art
Hmm.
or, a group
Hmm.
coaching program. I believe that everything starts, including us, you know,
Hmm.
from that seed of inspiration and that spark. And so that you took all that and like packed it into this poetic, beautiful, visceral, vibrational frequency that was just emanating. And I love that so much. Like, I am not from the, I'm changed. Like, I'm transformed in this moment. Do you see what you did?
That's so
So
awesome.
if
I love
I'm
it. I love all
transformed,
of it.
the
I love
listeners
it.
are going to be transformed. If you're not transformed by now, keep listening. I just want you to keep talking about food because I really want you said something, you said so many things, but something so potent that stood out to me was don't rob yourself of the experience that you get to have with food. And you just laid it all out. And then you said that. And I was like, oh my gosh, like how often does society do that? Like we rob ourselves of the experience of being so fully present
Hmm.
with
Hmm.
everything. And when you were talking about the potato salad, I was reminded of my grandmother, and I'm just gonna share
Hmm.
this short little story with you because I know you'll get it. But when my grandmother was alive, she was Hungarian, and there was a couple dishes she always made when she came to visit, and one of them is Hungarian paprikash or chicken and dumplings is the easy way to say it.
Hmm.
And I made sure to ask her to teach me how to make them, and I still say I make them better than my mother because I worked one on one with my like I took everything and like infused it and it's something that I still make to this day and it's one of those dishes that you do from the beginning to the end when you eat it it's just you can taste the love you can feel the love you can still feel my grandmother's presence in
Yes.
there, right?
Yes. And how is that? It's like it transcends any kind of making sense. Like, but
Mhm.
it's there. And when you think about like all that's around us is an energy of, and when you can actually use food to tap into a memory of someone who made such an impact on your life, what a gift. Like imagine the people that literally order Uber Eats and skip the dishes for every meal and
Yeah,
don't get to think about how my mom made that, or my dad made that, or my grandma made that, or even I had this one salad one time at a restaurant. And I mean, this is like part of the adventure of food for me. Like it's like a novel that never ends. It's like choose your own adventure, right? Like you can go down so many different paths. And I remember eating out with friends. I even know exactly who it was, Brittany. And Brittany and I went and had hot lemon water, which I always drink with my food. And it just seems to spark the experience even more. And then we had a kale salad at Earl's one time. And I remember the conversation. I remember enjoying it so much. And then I'm like, hey, I could recreate this. And so then all that comes to life again. So I go home and I, look up some ideas and sort of put them all together. Well, the kale salad that's evolved from that experience has become yet another adventure. And then you can, make it work for the seasons. And, you think about like the seasons of food. Like right now, we have a little bit of a skiff of snow on the ground. And all those warming foods just make you feel so good. Like, oh my goodness, would I ever love to have a nice hot curry like right now with some beautiful saffron rice? And you think about the comfort that that brings. Well, transition to when it's hot in summer months. Well, how about the fresh and crispness of a cold rice bowl, and how you can transform ingredients to like meet the seasons of your life or the seasons of
Mhm.
our temperatures even, and how just food adapts to every situation if you allow it to. And that makes you an active player in it. Like we can't stop being a part of that experience, or else we lose that appreciation. And like, I mean, I hear about like the cultural aspects of food, and I just feel so blessed because I never even had a clue of what that Hungarian dish was called that you said, and that you were alive as you talked about your grandmother preparing it, and it's just so fun to think about how food can take you to those places. Um, I even think about some of the lessons I learned as I grew up. So I have a very like amazing family. I was so blessed to have like the most amazing parents. And my grandfather, my on my mom's side, my grandfather remarried after my grandma passed away. I was very young. I didn't really know my real grandma that well, because I was so young when she passed. And he remarried a Norwegian woman when when I was like 4 or something. And I will never forget her because she brought Norwegian food into our lives. And I'd never experienced that before. So I remember sitting at her table in Hanley, Saskatchewan, and she always used to wear these beautiful Norwegian knit sweaters. And like I can even remember the smell of her kitchen. And we didn't get to go that often because it was like, a few hours from where I grew up, or, where my roots were laid down. So we didn't go there all that often, went to visit like once every couple of months. Well, I remember one time my grandmother making chocolate cake. And not that that's terribly Norwegian, but I remember the conversation around that chocolate cake. And I remember the pieces that she cut and they weren't even. And I remember grabbing for one of them and her teaching me a lesson. Now, I'm not sure that I actually fully embrace this lesson, but it makes me think about things every time. I remember as a child, you always want the biggest piece of chocolate cake, right? Well, I remember going for the biggest piece of chocolate cake, and she's like, stop. Do you need the biggest piece of chocolate cake? And I'm like, is there someone else that could be blessed by that biggest piece of chocolate cake? And it taught me something, and that reflection. Now, as a mom and a wife and a woman, I often feel like we don't put ourselves first, and I wouldn't fully agree with the lesson that maybe she was trying to teach me. However, I do reflect upon that, and it's become my own. Like
Mhm.
it's become my own, and I'm grateful to her because I had that discussion with her over a piece of chocolate cake that I remember from when I was a child. And like, I think about like having tea in a teeny tiny little tea set with my daughter when she was little because it was so fun to drink tea out of a teeny tiny tea set. But it's the conversation that evolved around that. And to this day, she's 26 years old. She still remembers that. And like, if you never take that time, you will never experience that with others. And it does stem from a love and appreciation of food. Now, chocolate cake. Let's talk about the chocolate cake. Because everybody's like, we can't invite Lana over because she's only going to eat organic food. Well, no, that's not the case. I do love my treats, and I think that's one of the fallacies that, I mean, I know that there's so many people that are hang-tied and handcuffed with their bodily restraints and their health that can't enjoy some aspects of food that I've been able to enjoy over the years. And so I don't want to discredit that. But I really believe in blessing your food. I really believe in looking at your food, and even when you can't prepare it, or even when, you are in the state where you have to accept food from, you can't impact it yourself. There are ways that you can bless your food, so it is a blessing to your body. And I think that people forget that too in our busy world. Like, let's bless our food. Let's really bless our food. Because if I think about that chocolate cake, my grandma probably did not use organic flour. She probably did not use organic sugar. Some of the ingredients that I've embraced over the years, I would doubt that she did. But did that food bless me? Oh, heck yeah. Like, it really did. So the the way that you look at food and the blessings that you receive from food, they teach you things. Like, here, I'll tell you about another like amazing experience. Way back, when I had first founded the store, I remember having a discussion with a young woman, and they were getting married, and she suffered from a disorder, well, like a digestive disorder that really, really hampered her ability to eat and to absorb food and to, reap nutrition from food. And they were getting married, and they decided that they were going to go on their honeymoon to Italy. And they went on their honeymoon, and on the last day of their honeymoon, she buckled and said, I'm going to eat pasta, because she couldn't eat wheat in Canada. And she ate that pasta in Italy and had no reaction. So she came back and she was just blown away. And she's like, what's your take on this? And I'm like, well, that's the adulteration of our food in Canada, and why it's so important to source as pure food as you possibly can. And she was just blown away. I'm like, well, there goes our man-made intelligence on top of our food, and taking that away from God's innate, God's innate creation, the way that it was intended to be. Let's just pepper our food with a whole bunch of chemicals. And then let's just see how the human body can assimilate that, or in her case, not assimilate that. As she goes over to Italy, she experiences food that hasn't been sprayed with, in that case, it was glyphosate, aka Roundup, and her body received it. And so she came back just with this like newfound appreciation for the lesson that she learned about food. And I'm sure to this day, like I remember that conversation like yesterday, and it was years ago. Like, it was probably 15 years ago. And it still has an impact on me, and why you choose to eat food that, has a story of something that feels wholesome to you. And there are ways of doing it. Sometimes it's difficult, and sometimes you just gotta bless your food. But there are ways of choosing food that will impact your health in a positive manner, but also impact your experience in a positive manner. And sometimes those worlds collide.
Yes. And something I want to add to that story and everything that you shared, which I think is absolutely beautiful, because I know I've had issues, with food, with emotional eating, throughout a good chunk of my life. And so I'm also thinking about those people who are listening to this conversation and feeling probably so much liberation, and I mean could be triggered and have a lot of questions coming up too. And what came to mind, Lana, too, was and I'm just going to share a story because I know you'll like this story. And I think it will open up another perspective as well. Is one of the lessons that I learned is it's so to do with your inner state of being and your own
Hmm.
energy and vibration that you're in. Because this was, oh my goodness, 10 years ago, maybe now, where I ate very, very clean, very, very organic. And I hadn't had like a fast food burger in, I don't know, 6, 7 years possibly. And I was in Prince Albert and I was driving down this street and there was a McDonald's to my left. And it was as if the McDonald's lit up and this band of angels went, oh, and there was this intuitive nudge to go there and order a Big Mac, which is something that I would have done like in my early 20s in my teenage
Hmm.
years. And
Hmm.
I always, well, not always, most of the time, let's get honest here. I most of the time follow my intuition. So guess what? I went through the drive-through and I got a Big Mac. I swear that Big Mac was produced by angels because it was the best Big Mac I've ever eaten in my entire life. And that destroyed every belief system I had up until then that it's the food that you eat all of the time. And what I, from my experience, was there was a huge role that played in that. Number one, because I had been eating clean for such a long time that my digestive system, everything was pretty healthy. And number two was life wanted to give me a new experience of fast food because I normally would eat that stuff so unconsciously, right?
Yes,
So
yes,
unconsciously, so
yes.
to like numb what I was feeling on the inside, not to actually enjoy the experience of it. So I like the universe loved me that much that it wanted to give me a whole new experience with that. Did I need another Big Mac after that? No. Did I go back the next day? No. Like I didn't, like it satisfied me so much in the moment because it was gifted to me. I feel like by the universe that I was like, what just happened? That was awesome.
And here you are, how many years later,
Yeah.
still receiving.
Yeah,
Like,
of course.
yeah. And it's like, well, yeah, I think we all have those, like, you pair those feelings and tastes and experiences, and then you can actually bring them up again and
Mhm.
experience it all over again. And it's the framing, isn't it? Like it's
Yeah.
totally the framing of it. And like
Yeah.
what a beautiful experience that you got to feel the other side
Yeah.
of not unconscious eating. And maybe that's it. Like really, really looking and feeling into your food for the conscious experience of eating it and receiving the nutrition of it, even when it doesn't make sense. Like even when
Yeah.
it doesn't make sense. And then I think, for those who have um emotional eating, like hangups and dilemmas, I think just being conscious of that will actually help you to grow in that experience. And I'm no counselor. I don't have that experience. I'm just someone that appreciates the experience of food that I have for many, many years. And I think in looking at food for gifts and finding the gifts in them, and asking for the gifts in food. And I think that was one of the
Mhm.
conversations that we had. Ask your food for blessings. Ask your food for
Yeah.
lessons. Ask your food for insights. And always bless your food. Always bless your food. Um, and yeah, it can be so much more than what we experience. It's like getting outside the realm of just feeling like it's filling up our bellies. It can fill up our soul.
Yes, soul food. I
Hmm.
love that. I always think that, we're here for a reason. Like we chose to come and have this human experience, to be able to experience all of our senses, taste, touch. Do you know what I mean? Oh, this reminds me of another trip that I had when I was in Aruba. And when I went, oh, the environment even played a huge role, right? Like I got to leave everything behind and step into this new environment where I didn't know anybody. I went on a yoga retreat, and I still remember almost every meal that I had there because I had a mystical experience that week where my mind, my analytical mind, powered off. I was just
Mm.
pure loving awareness. It like I didn't do anything to deserve that. It just happened. It was like the grace of God, right? So I still remember our very first dinner that was set up on the beach, right oceanfront. The sun was coming down. And I've gone through periods where I've eaten meat, not eaten meat, and
Hmm.
this I was eating meat and we had a steak and a candied walnut salad and I still remember the taste. I remember the experience in
Hmm.
my body. And then the next day I ordered a salmon burger and they put real like fresh fillets of salmon on the burger. And oh my gosh, it was so good that I remember having a second one and I went to my hotel room to eat it by myself. And I made a joke with everybody that was there. I was like, if you had been passing my room when I was eating that, you would have thought something else was happening.
Right.
Just me
It was
eating a
that good.
salmon burger. Yeah, we're talking about food porn. It was so good. So I
Yeah,
also think environment sometimes plays a huge
absolutely.
role,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Oh, okay. I have to tell you an experience. My kids sometimes think I'm crazy because I just love food so much. Um, but when my husband and I got married, we jetted off on our honeymoon and we pointed the car west. We packed up our hiking gear and we pointed it west and we decided that it was going to be a trip of spontaneity. We didn't book any hotel rooms because we're just like, it's just going to happen. We're just going to make it happen the day of or whatever. And we're just going to be unattached to any outcome of our experience. Let's just do things. So we headed to Alberta, and one of the hikes that we went on was to Lake Angus. Have you ever been to Lake Angus?
No.
Okay, if you've never been to Lake Angus, you can't go now, but you can go in like kind of late spring. I think they open up, and it's a fairly aggressive hike um, up. It's near Lake Louise. And there's the Lake Angus Tea House. I think it's called the Tea House up top. And there's no electricity up there. They do everything um like with alternative energy sources. So like
Wow.
wood fired stove. So that day, we sort of screwed up on our like haphazard schedule that we sort of kind of had of like where we wanted to go. So we found ourselves doing two fairly aggressive hikes in and we got up to the tea house in Lake Angus and ate homemade bread that was cooked at a wood-fired stove. We
Mm.
had French press coffee and we had the most amazing brownie that I've ever experienced in my entire lifetime. And just like you talked about your experience at Aruba, like honestly, Amy, I can still taste it. And that brownie and that like well the sandwich and the coffee I'm okay with letting go of like that was good, but like wow, the brownie like that encompassed my whole experience up that hike. Like I remember passing the horse and the fellow riding the horse with a whole bunch of supplies up the mountain. Like I passed the supplies that went up there and I got to eat. Like, how neat is that? And this brownie was like out of this world. It was out of this world. And like, I can still remember every detail of that experience. I came back down and I had a state of like, just wow, was that amazing? And then I had a state of sadness. My husband's like, what? Why are you sad? And he's like, I said, what if I never experience that again? Like, what if I never experience that again? And he's like, I never would have thought of it that way. But to this day, now have like a it's like a brownie like contest. Like, can it rival?
Are those the same brownies that you try to make and sell them?
Oh, try and make and sell them. Yes, there's it's literally like the lifetime contest. So, okay, speed ahead. We're in Kimberley, BC. One summer, we have the kids with us. We're at this like beautiful coffee shop. I buy a brownie. It was a gluten-free brownie, which is wild because I don't think the one up at Lake Angus was a gluten-free brownie, but I remember it being a gluten-free brownie and thinking, well, I'm willing to put it on the spectrum of brownies, right? I'm willing to like place it somewhere. Here we are in this, it was a coffee shop and bookstore. So like I'm immersed in like ideas and history and like all the things that books bring and like the aroma of coffee and then this rich brownie that comes to my plate. I cried. I actually took a bite of it and I started crying. And okay, everybody's looking at me like, okay, she has cracked. It all came back. It all came back. I'm like, okay, now I don't have to feel the sadness of never having that experience in Lake Angus because here I'm having another experience that's as rich with different family members. Like it was the progression of like my husband, our marriage, our celebration of our marriage. And then here we are years later with our kids and a whole nother experience. And it's like, oh, just to stop and just enjoy the food. Like just enjoy the food.
Yeah, and savor those experiences. And I can relate to the sadness because that's happened also to me, where you think, oh my gosh, this experience was so rich in this fulfillment that I feel from the inside out that is so beyond words that I'm the one experiencing it. And I really feel what you shared too captures kind of like the essence of what I stand for, that everything that we want in life is actually how we are going to experience ourselves
Yes. Oh,
in
that's such a
in
good
it,
sum up.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so I love this chocolate brownie and I have to say the chocolate brownie that came with my first soup that I ordered, the tomato basil soup,
Hmm.
was immaculate and I'm just letting you know I haven't had a brownie since then and I've kind of felt sad. Every time I go, I'm like, I'm hoping that the brownie's gonna go with the soup and it's not there. And I'm like, oh.
Well, you just have to poke on a friend and yeah, we'll make that happen. We'll make that happen.
Yeah.
But like
Oh,
what a beautiful experience that you can have when you just and it's like how you approach it. It's like how you open your heart to food
yeah.
and like food and friends and environment and
Mm.
oh, I just think it's such a rich blessing that we forget about. And like, yeah, like talk about winning the divine lottery literally every time you can approach food. And like, so like even the cessation of food, like not like fasting, whoa, does that bring power to food? Like
Mhm.
back and then like allowing your body to heal and then reintroducing food to your body and just experiencing that whole thing like it there's so much there's just so much.
Yeah, we need to have a episode number two after this
Mm,
one sometime. This really, and I said this, I think, from that one experience we had, that this is such a rich experience. I feel like this podcast episode, it's just so rich. And that's what I've come to know winning the Divine Lottery is for me too, is like to find the richness in all experiences and also ask for more rich experiences. Bring me another rich experience that I haven't experienced yet because I think every time we ask for a different experience or a more rich experience of ourselves in relation to life that we're expanding. That's the
mm-hmm,
expansion. Like we think we're only this and experiencing life this way, and then all of a sudden something new
mm-hmm.
happens and we go,
Wow, hey,
yeah,
yeah, it's like exploding and multiplying and yeah.
yeah, that's so incredible. Okay, Lana, so I ask everybody this. in your own words, in your heart, what does winning the divine lottery mean for you?
Hmm. Oh, that's a good one, and I love it. Winning the divine lottery to me means finding God in every moment. And whatever, however that resonates with you. Um, and it's interesting because I was doing a prayer meditation not that long ago. And that was what I was reflecting upon and meditating upon and just finding the beauty in every situation and just like consciously looking for a sprinkling of that beautiful divinity in every moment. So, yeah, as I sit here looking at the skiff of snow and the snow on the ground and the moisture that it's going to give and the fresh season ahead and the new possibilities, like that's it right here. Like in looking into your eyes and seeing a reflection of you and a reflection of me and enjoying connecting with others, that's divinity. Um, every experience, even those that don't appear to be positive and challenge us, it's like give yourself a couple of breaths to take a step back and do what you did, like with your book. Like I'm sure there was so many experiences that you had with your puppy dog that just cracked your heart wide open. But as you reflect upon it, you found the God moments and brought those forth and reframed that. So, and it just reminds me of like, I'm sitting in my vehicle and I'm thinking about like people who experience road rage and even reframing that, like reframing, well, what must that person be experiencing ahead of me that they're having a bad day? Well, you know what? Maybe I could just bless them. Maybe I can just pour upon, love upon them, and their day might be a little bit better. Or I just go that extra mile to be extra kind to somebody else today.
Yeah.
Even a smile, just feeling the smile, radiating a smile, it gets multiplied back to you 1,000 times, but we don't think about it. So, like, to me, that's like be present and find God in every moment that you walk. It's like it's such a blessing to be here.
I love it. I love it. This has been an incredible conversation. I feel like it's just been like a warm blanket, like wrapped around our hearts and our souls. And I'm just in awe of you and what just your essence, really, like your seed of you, your beingness, and this beautiful gift that God put in you. It made you to be this way with this love for food so that you could be such a blessing in so many people's lives.
Mm.
Um, I just love you so much, Lana, and thank you so much
Thank
for
you,
opening
Amy.
up your heart and sharing your love here today with me.
Yeah.
So
I
honored.
I hope that we can inspire even one little person. I know we talked about this earlier, like the butterfly effect or
Yeah.
just somebody to just like look at something differently today and whether it be food or whether it be the person down the street or whether it be someone they're just working with and just be a blessing and enjoy an experience. Maybe it's that brownie, maybe it's potato salad. Um, I don't know, but something and just like really take it in and feel the goodness coming into your essence.
For sure. It's been such an honor. I love you so much.
Thank you.
Now, before we close today's episode, I want to share a short guided moment of connection. This is a small taste of the deeper personal insights you can experience in a soul session with me, where we connect deeply with your inner world and bring forward what your soul wants you to hear. So please only do this if you're in a safe, quiet place, if you're driving, if you're doing something else. Just make sure to come back to this when you're in a suitable environment. Close your eyes, Take a deep breath and just allow yourself to settle into this space. Wherever you are, release any tension in your shoulders, unclench your jaw, and allow your mind to soften. Imagine a soft, gentle light glowing within you, a light that holds all the wisdom, clarity, and the love that you need right now. As you breathe, feel this light expand, growing brighter, warmer, reaching all areas of your heart and mind. Now take a moment to consider, what is your soul seeking to tell you right now? Perhaps it's a reminder to trust yourself. Or maybe it's urging you to release a pattern that no longer serves you. Allow whatever comes forward to surface gently, without judgment, and trust that whatever is appearing is exactly what you need to hear. If you'd like to explore this feeling further, you can book a personalized soul session with me. In these sessions, we dive deeply into your unique journey and bring forward the insights that are waiting just for you. Thank you for allowing me to share this moment with you. I hope it brought you a sense of peace and clarity. And if you're ready to go deeper and receive a personal message from your soul, you can find out more information on how to book a session in the episode notes. I'd be honored to walk alongside you.
Thanks for listening to this episode. If you found it valuable, please share it with a friend.